Success in life is impossible without other people. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about the importance of networking for creatives and entrepreneurs, how to build a strong social circle, and my 3 biggest networking tips. Coming up. Hey, what's up? Sean here with Think Media, bringing you the best tips and tools for building your influence with online video. And on this channel, we do a lot of tech gear reviews, as well as tips and strategy videos just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Your network can help you build visibility, connect you with other influencers, and open up new doors of opportunity. In fact, you may have heard the phrase that your net worth is directly connected to your network. And so I wanted to shoot a video really talking about the importance of not just creating videos and not just trying to create products or make money online or even just build your influence online, but the importance of relationships and sometimes getting out of your day-to-day routine to build those relationships. So my question for you is, I know you invest in your money, but do you invest in your relationships? Are you building social capital? In fact, I believe that your ability to build a network of personal and professional relationships is the most important asset in your portfolio. And so I spend a lot of time on this channel sharing tactical tips about how to get more views on your videos, about how to optimize your videos for search, how to grow your social media platforms. But I thought it was really important to make a video about how to grow your network and invest in really people. In fact, I believe that you should spend 50% of your time on content creation, whether that's shooting your videos, building your business, building your brand, but that you should spend the other 50% on content distribution, meaning you're putting in the time on social media or even in the real world, getting the word out about what you're doing. And so that means not just tweeting, but it also means meeting people, it means rubbing shoulders, and it really means building your network and taking time to participate in the community and the conversation that's happening in your niche. So what are some practical ways that you can do this? Let's jump into these 3 tips. The first one is getting off the internet and actually meeting up with people in the real world. Now I know, that kind of sounds crazy, right? As online entrepreneurs, as video influencers, as online influencers, but we have to make sure that we block time in our schedules to go to conferences, to go to meetups, to get involved in the local community. And here's why. When you go to these events, this is where you'll meet the collaborations that you may do on YouTube or in business. This is where you might be able to find interns that will work with you and maybe join your team in some way. This is where you could find future team members. Maybe that's not where you are building your brand or your business right now, but you should always be thinking about this, even if it's gonna be something that happens later. And an example of how practical this is, at a recent event in Vegas called Amplify Live, I met my friend Nick from Grayscale Gorilla. And not only have we done some business stuff together, but we've even gone snowboarding together and are building a friendship and a business relationship. And so this is where these things happen. And so one of my favorite resources for kind of creating these connections in your local area is meetup.com. And so if you've never been there before, I'll link it up in the description below. Just go to Meetup, create an account, and then search for things like business meetups, entrepreneurships, meetups is a good search term, video production, photography. There is a YouTuber meetup that's happening here in Vegas that I'm going to the day after shooting this video. And so there's all of these opportunities. You don't know necessarily what's gonna happen, but this could be your future collabs. This could be your future people that you do video production or freelance work for. You have to be in the community. Another resource is Creative Mornings, and these are monthly events typically in about 100 cities where you're going to be able to network and connect with other creatives in your space. And then additionally, you can look at trade organizations, whether that's for photography or design or video, or even things like Toastmasters to meet people and also level up your speaking or your communication. And then there's also things like the Chamber of Commerce that hosts events. In Vegas here, there's the Young Professionals group of the Chamber of Commerce that do all kinds of cool events. And I love to go to these to not necessarily know exactly what's gonna happen, but what I do know is that people matter most and that you should always be building your social circle. So I'll list up some resources in the description below. And then just one kind of encouragement here is that I think people give up too early when it comes to networking. You know, I'd love to say that every meetup I attend turns into some kind of a business deal or some kind of an epic collab or some kind of a, epic thing that builds my business, but it doesn't necessarily happen that way. I mean, I go just to meet people, just to check it out, and you have to be willing to put in the work, put in the hustle, and just kind of leave a little bit of serendipity up to these events, but also, of course, always go with intentionality. The second area that is so important is focusing on building your network and your social circle online. Of course, this is where you're starting conversations on Twitter, where you're engaging with people, where you're joining conversations and contributing to the community in your niche and in your space. And so a quick power tip here, before you really start to build your social circle online and network online, is level up your personal branding. I have to say that just like if you go to a conference or a meetup, you're probably gonna take a shower that day and show up to make a certain impression with your presence. Think about the same thing for your presence online. Do you have a good avatar? Is, your presentation of your Twitter account or your Instagram account, is it professional? Is it reflecting your brand values, your brand messaging, reflecting what you stand for, how you can add value to others, your positioning in the marketplace? If you haven't really worked on your personal branding on your online platforms yet, always do that first, because I really believe you only get one chance to make a first impression. So if you do reach out to someone on Twitter, or start talking to someone on Twitter, what is the first impression of your Twitter avatar? What is the impression of your Twitter bio? Is it filled out? Or your Instagram bio, or any social platform? Always work on that branding and messaging first, and then begin to reach out. And so here's a couple practical stories of why this is so powerful. The first is Heather Torres. Now you may have heard of her before. She's part of the Think Media team, and guess what? We met on Twitter. She actually reached out to me. We started to have a conversation. Eventually we met up here in Vegas. Eventually she actually did some kind of pro bono work, worked for free, and worked just kind of on some performance-based stuff when we were very early in Think Media, and there wasn't really a ton of income to hire anybody. And then eventually she joined the team in like a real position, and she's been one of like the greatest blessings and made such a huge impact on everything that we do here at Think Media and on our brand overall. We met online. Powerful, right? And another example is my friend Alejandro Reyes. Now one of my best friends. He's got a sweet vlog channel on YouTube, and we met on Twitter. Why? Because he reached out. But I'd have to say that in both cases, Heather and Alejandro are both just good at having a good first impression. They seem like real people. I seem like I could trust them, at least at first, to get over that initial hurdle of like, who is this person? Just because good bio picture, kind of saw what they were about, was able to check out their content, look into what they had been posting. And so they had that strong brand, and it led to some profound friendships, relationships, business partnerships. This is the power of why you should be building your network and your social circle. And so I want to give you 3 areas for really networking online. And I took these from Chase Jarvis, and he's a huge influencer in my life, founder of Creative Live. I'll link up to his channel in the description below. This video is actually basically inspired by one of his videos. But he talked about 3 areas that you should be focusing on when it comes to networking online. The first one is, who are the stars in your space? In your niche, who are the leading influencers, the top influencers? When it comes to, building and getting engaged in the community and getting engaged in the conversation, be engaging in their stuff. Are you commenting on their stuff, sharing their posts, giving actual good feedback? And if they ask questions, engaging with them and engaging other people in their space because they're really tribe leaders. They're online influencers that have built communities. And so there's conversations that are already happening that you can jump into in a respectful way, in a contributing way, in a way that adds value and that even, has you being a part of that community that they're building. The second area are the sites. So the question is, what are the top sites in your niche? And so what we're talking about here are the blogs, the Facebook groups, the YouTube channels, even the podcasts in your space. The top channels, take time and block time on your schedule to be engaging in the comments. One thing that I like to do is if I listen to a podcast that interviews two people, I like to say if I'm grateful for that. And I'll tag each person, I'll say, just listen to the episode, super great episode. This puts your awareness on people's radars. Does that lead to some business result, immediately? Of course not. It might not ever, and it may even be 5 years down the road or 7 years down the road that something happens. But the point is to always be intentionally cultivating relationships and just building your social capital and your social circle. And then the third area is social, meaning your peers. So there's the stars that you want to know, who are they and are you engaging in their communities? The sites, what are the top sites, podcasts, YouTube channels, are you engaging in those communities? And then social, who are your peers? The people who are doing similar things to you, they're influencers in your space, maybe of a similar size. And in that respect, you're engaging with them, commenting on their stuff, building those friendships, building those relationships, and also cultivating things like JV partnerships and collaborations, whether that's in business, on YouTube, and blogging, on Facebook Live, social media collaborations, Instagram account takeovers, Snapchat takeovers. So many opportunities for building your brand can come from these things, but it's something that you always want to be working on. And one power tip here is a lot of times I see people are too transactional, thinking I want to take one action and then make a withdrawal off of that, quick investment that I made immediately. And that is not how this works. This is something that you almost just do as a lifestyle, and I believe it's best done with zero expectations. It's best done where you have a hope that it's gonna lead to something cool, but you don't have an agenda. Nobody wants somebody that has an agenda, that's just trying to use them or trying to see what they can get out of the relationship. I think what people ultimately want is just real, authentic, friendly people who add value, who have similar minds, similar values, similar audiences or whatever it is, just finding cool and creative ways to work together. And so I really encourage that when you're very intentional with this kind of stuff, also let things be very organic, not contrived, not forced. Always be a good person and always, expect to add value and give value, honestly not respecting anything in return. Okay, so your quick action item here is to start a Google Doc or wherever you take notes, Evernote, it doesn't matter, and make a list. Write stars, write the sites, write the social, your peers, and begin to just keep an ongoing list of who are the top influencers, what are the top sites and the top media channels in your space, and who are some people that you'd love to grow in relationship with and your peers in the space. And then that way you can reference that list, you can always add to it, and you can be intentional to even block time on your calendar to maybe just go through and just check in and spend some time engaging, commenting, seeing what people are up to, and contributing and giving back in those areas. And then the third area for building your network and your social circle is to work for free. Now I know you might be like, Sean, nothing should be done for free. I should never work for free, but personally, I disagree with that. Without question, any influence that I've built and what I have today has been a result of doing spec work, pro bono work, and really adding just value right up front, not knowing if I would get anything in return. There's actually a famous kind of story in this entrepreneur space, and that is Gary Vaynerchuk has a full-time videographer named D-Rock, and Gary is, New York Times bestselling author. If you've never heard about him, he's really blowing up online. But D-Rock, this story just has really kind of spread on the internet because he made a video for Gary. He actually said, hey, can I work with you? He emailed him. It was ignored a couple times. And then eventually he said, sure, I'll let you create like a mini documentary of my day for free. And D-Rock did it for free, shot the whole day, made like this piece, which is now Gary's show called The Daily V. and he now is full on the team. It's turned into a position for him. D-Rock's able to do something he loves, but it all started with reaching out and offering to add value with not expecting anything in return. But of course, I'm sure D-Rock hoped that what happened, and sure enough, it did. And it all started with doing spec work. You know, another example of this is on Video Influencers with Benji and I. We do an interview show. Sure, a lot of people do that. And sure, we do get value if someone comes on our show and they have influence. But a lot of people, when it comes to shooting interviews, will just do Google Hangouts because it's easy to do. You get to sit here, interview the other person, and put it out. But we really wanted Video Influencers to be different. So we invested our own money, our own time to travel places, to bring multiple camera angles, to actually bring our own team who we were paying, and to try to set it up and shoot it by ourselves, to create interviews that were a lot higher quality with different influencers that we had on that channel. And one of the examples that we did was Chalene Johnson, who's a fitness celebrity, New York Times bestselling author, and someone now that I work closely with, and we partner on projects, and I've spoke at her events, and I work with her inside of her Marketing Impact Academy, and it's led to all kinds of things. But it all started by going and not just doing a video with her, an original interview on Video Influencers, but also investing a ton into that interview. I wanted it to be the best interview that she had ever done. I wanted the video production to be off the charts and a step above everybody else's. And our turnaround time was, I think the video came out the day after we shot it, which got her attention. She was like, dude, a couple other people shot some stuff with me and it hasn't been out for like 2 months. This is crazy. The interview's good, the production quality, you know, like you've added all this value to me. And then that led to really another step in the relationship. So I want to ask you, who are some people that you would love to work with? Or what is maybe a network or a tribe that you would love to get more involved in? Ask yourself, how could you offer value up front, offer to do free work, or offer to do cool projects that promote the other person, that has something special about it? That is one of the best ways to build your social circle, to build your network, and to get a chance to start a relationship that you may not have gotten otherwise if you just said, hey, can we hang out? Or hey, can I buy you coffee? In fact, power tip, one of probably the worst ways to reach out to a lot of influencers is being like, hey, can I buy you lunch? Especially when some of these people are like, you know, you're gonna buy me a $20 lunch when I run a team of 20 people that I have to pay every day. You know, so you wanna really get creative and think about how you could reach out, add value, and connect with people. And one other example that is huge in this particular area is this is also a great way to build your skills. If you've never heard my story before, I started video production by interning in my local church. And so in 2003, my youth pastor handed me a video camera and he said, hey, start making video announcements. And of course, this was all volunteer, but it was a huge opportunity because when I couldn't afford a camera equipment and video editing software and computers, I learned on the church's equipment and computers. And so I was getting to produce videos. I got to, you know, make videos every single week, and the discipline of doing that in those days is what brought me to where I am today with knowing video production or learning YouTube. You know, our first YouTube channel that I ever ran was my church's YouTube channel in 2007. And so now today, all these tips that I've learned was because I got involved in an organization, started interning, leveling up my skills and building relationships. And then fast forward a few years, I started a media production business, and a lot of the clients were actually people that were in the church back about an hour north of Seattle, Washington, earlier on, just kind of in my personal journey. Why? Because I was involved. I was doing something. I was in the physical world, learning and rubbing shoulders with people and connecting with people, building my network. And then sure enough, it just led to things, and other doors began to open, and things I could have never predicted happened. And so I want to encourage you, what kind of people could you offer value to for free, you know, not expecting anything in return, especially as people are busier than ever. There's more social media coming out than ever. I encourage you to do that because it could lead to some incredible things in your future by taking that opportunity to add value and build your social circle. Question of the day, which of these 3 tips stood out to you the most, and or what is a conference, meetup, or an event that would be great for you to attend to build your network in the next 6 months? Let me know in the comment section below. So thanks so much for checking out this video. Definitely subscribe for more videos just like this. Hit the like button if you got value out of this video. And what we do most here on Think Media TV is help you with tips for building your influence with online video and specifically YouTube. And if you want to check out a recent training that I did all about YouTube, it's entirely free. 45 minutes long. You can actually get access to it at learnyoutubetoday.com, or we'll link it up in the description below. And it'll actually really break down how to build your influence on YouTube and get more views, subscribers, and build your income as well. So definitely check that out. And until next time, Think Media is helping you with the best tips and tools for building your influence with online video. Keep crushing it, and we will talk soon.